All right, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in. We're going to give a few seconds for folks to file in here. Then we're going to get ready to cook some pad thai. Hey there, John. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. New face here with Homemade. My good friend Lisa invited me to be a part of this, and I was so excited to join the Homemade team and really be part of such a unique experience. I've been a part of a couple cooking classes and joined as a spectator, but it's another thing to be behind the scenes here and cook with y'all. So I'm very excited to cook this pad thai. A little bit about myself, kind of like Lisa, I've also got a food business, and I heard Lisa outed me last time as a mama's boy. I am 100% a mama's boy. She was not lying. I actually run a food business with my mom. She may jump in some future classes here. And so, yeah, a little bit about this dish here. Many of us have had pad thai here in the Northwest in Seattle. We have a lot of Thai cuisine. It's one of my go-to favorites. I'm curious, folks in the chat, do you have any go-to favorite Thai dishes that you would order out or maybe that you've made at home in the past?
I think it's a good question, like whether people have made their favorite Thai dishes at home
Yeah,
before.
curious about that. Anybody ventured into actually trying it at home as well?
I don't know if you said your name.
And my name is Alex, for those who didn't hear. Yeah, my name is Alex Doros, and very excited to be a new member of the Homemade Cooking team. And so, yeah, without further ado, I want to talk a little bit about why we're cooking with lamb today. Lamb is not maybe the most traditional pad thai topping or protein, but it's a really unique and versatile protein. Lamb works really, really well with spicy dishes and very loud, flavorful dishes like pad thai. And so it's going to be a really unique combo for this dish. And one of the reasons why we love using American local lamb is that it's a way to support the local economy. You can get amazing lamb from other places, but whenever we can, we would love to support our local economy, support our local farmers. And so there's some really high quality lamb products out there like what we're using today. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can go to americanlamb.com. You can also go to @fanoflamb on Instagram. And without further ado, let's get cooking. So kind of wanted to walk you through a little bit some of the process today. We're going to start by cutting some lamb shoulder and marinating that. And then we're going to make a sauce as well for the pad thai while we cook the noodles. We're going to briefly saute some things, and then we're going to tie it all together and garnish everything. And so we're going to start by cutting up this lamb. And if you have lamb, especially if you have lamb that's got a little bit of gristle and muscle as well, it's a thicker piece, you may struggle with cutting the lamb. So a trick that we've kind of ensued to move things along and make it easier for ourselves with the cutting process is actually freezing the lamb for about 30 minutes. So I'm going to pull it out of the freezer here. And here we have this beautiful lamb steak here, shoulder. This one's got some bone in as well. And so while we're not going to use the bone, we want to make sure that we utilize that for other dishes down the road with our cooking. We could use that for a stock perhaps, and we can freeze that and save it for another date as well. And you'll see here there is a fair amount of fat here, and so we are going to start by basically trimming the fat. If you do have quite a bit of fat, you can start by trimming away from your fingers, pinching inwards, and then we're going to start by trimming the edges here.
So this is a shoulder chop.
Exactly. This is a shoulder chop, so it's less thick than a traditional full shoulder. And you sometimes may find different cuts of lamb depending on what you have at your butcher. And so it's important also to ask what they have available. And sometimes you may have to adapt accordingly based on what cut you have. And if you're not sure where your lamb comes from, how do you know if it's American lamb? One of the best ways to find out is really just by asking your butcher and by having a conversation with your butcher, asking them where it comes from. And they should be able to tell you.
I like this preparation of cutting it really thin because it can work for many different cuts because you're like making it work with those tougher pieces.
Exactly. Exactly. So even if we got a pretty tough, muscly cut, if we slice it thin and we're going to slice it against the grain, which can be a little bit tricky. As you see here, we've got some kind of gristly pieces, but we're still going to do our best to cut against the grain and slice them as thinly as possible here. And so, go slice. And these are about less than 1/4 inch thick, so as thin as possible. And then we'll just slice, slice, slice. And so my first exposure to authentic Thai food, I actually was lucky enough to go and travel to Thailand with my father. My dad was a writer, took me all over the world as I was a kid, and I got to go to Thailand as a teenager. And we got to explore all of the amazing restaurants and markets, but we were really struggling to find what we found was going to be like our amazing Thai meal. We were all over the place going to restaurants, and we just weren't finding any truly out of the park meals. We discovered we were doing it wrong. Later, I learned from Anthony Bourdain and a number of other people that the best Thai food is often found in markets. So as soon as we were willing to get a little bit lost and eat with the locals and eat more in the market scene, we had a totally different experience. So always kind of an interesting way to travel, and definitely it's often where you get the most authentic eating experience. Thailand is no exception.
What would you say, like, do you have a specific food memory from that trip, or like several, or I want to hear about it?
Several, yeah. I remember one of the most unique things was the freshness of these mango salads. I don't know if anybody has had a green mango salad, but then there were toppings that I was less familiar with. Like there were fried whole little crabs. I don't know if anyone has ever seen that.
That
There's a
sounds
couple of
so
restaurants where you can get
good.
that here as well. Yeah. Anybody else had any unique dishes or toppings on Thai cuisine? Anybody who's traveled had a chance to have it internationally?
Let's see. Let's wait for some answers to come in. Someone's talking about how you're a lefty.
I am a lefty. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Left
am
brain
I.
creative. Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. I bet you there's more than a few lefties here in this creative circle here. And so here I have this meat here. We are saving this for another date. I have a little bit of meat that's pre-marinated as well. We want to marinate this for half an hour, for 30 minutes. And so we have some that's already pre-marinated to help speed up the process as well. And then we're going to mix this here with the marinade. We have some minced garlic. We have some fish sauce. And we have some brown sugar, which ideally you'll whisk in beforehand. And here we're just kind of speeding up the process. And fish sauce is one of those things. If you're not used to cooking with it, it can feel very strange to cook with fish sauce. It can feel very overwhelming. I don't know if people are fans of fish sauce here necessarily, but even if you're not a fan, I would highly encourage you to venture into the weird, get a little funky, and try it. It's more subtle than you would imagine, especially if you're incorporating it into marinade. It's going to be really meld into the dish, and you may not even notice it. And you can use it in small amounts. And then we've got this marinade here. We want to really spread it around as much as possible. So we're kind of coating all of the meat with all of the garlic as well as the seasoning here. Really kind of make sure it soaks up.
Can I have you move over this way a little bit? You're sliding out of camera.
There, thanks so much. So we want to make sure it's very coated. Then we'll get that back into the fridge for about 30 minutes. All right. All right. And then now we are going with the pad thai sauce here. And so we have our components here. Here we've got some fish sauce And you can use, there's a number of varieties, and that's kind of one of the fun things about Asian cuisine and Thai cuisine in general, is that it's a little bit of a treasure hunt, which is one of the joys of the internet, is that a lot of these harder to find ingredients, if you can't find them, if you don't have an Asian market nearby, you don't have a supermarket with a large Asian section, you can order some of these things online. And I like kind of experimenting with different fish sauces I've used in the past. Red Boat, there's many different brands as well. I've also found some really amazing Thai varieties as well. There's one in a blue bottle, if you've ever seen that one, very, very high quality. Here we have some soy sauce. And this is just a traditional soy sauce, but you could use alternatives if you're gluten-free. Maybe you want to use some tamari. If you want to stick with the most traditional Thai methods, you could use a slightly lighter soy variety. Then here we have some rice vin as well. Some oil. Here we have some brown sugar. And we're really just going to make sure we whisk this in quite well together. And then the tamarind, that's another option where you may have to kind of be creative with the ingredients that you have. So I brought a couple of different varieties to show you with how you can kind of play around with what you have. This is tamarind paste. It basically comes as kind of like a brick, and oftentimes there's the actual seeds in it as well, and you don't necessarily want that in the dish, and so it can be a little bit of work to strain that out, get rid of the seeds.
Can I have you look at this camera?
Yes, yeah.
Because you can like show in that one and then
Perfect, thank
look
you.
into that. Yeah, yeah.
Live TV here. We're still learning all the little, all the little nuances here, where to stand. Appreciate it. Yeah, so this is the tamarind, basically like a block, and you would kind of strain out the seeds to push it through, which is quite a bit of work, but you don't have to do that necessarily, and you may not be able to find this. You may find a concentrate, which comes basically in a jar like this. Some of them have blue tops as well. And there is a slight flavor difference. This concentrate is a little bit more acidic. And so you do get some benefits of using this block, but you don't have to. You can be creative and you can use this concentrate. And so we're going to add several tablespoons of that as well. And then one of the neat things about Thai cuisine is how layered it is, how many really flavor components you'll find across all the dishes, and in each dish. Like with this one, there are four main components that are across all Thai cuisine, and those are spicy, sweet, sour, and then basically we get kind of like a combination of all of them in all Thai cuisine, whether it's in one specific dish or in bites across each meal. And Thai cuisine often is about finding the perfect bite. And this dish kind of highlights that. I'm curious, do you have specific flavor components that are your favorite? I was asking earlier, do we have spice lovers? Do you think that you'll be making it spicy with this addition or not?
Oh, I just love them all together so much. It works so well. The spicy, sweet, sour, salty.
Right.
Yeah. It's hard to pick just one.
It is hard to pick just one, yeah.
Because that's like the beauty of Thai food, is that like they're all there.
Exactly. Yeah. And so for me, I would say if I had to pick one, it'd probably be spicy. I was raised drinking hot sauce out of the baby bottle. So that's kind of my go-to, but lately I've been going more towards the sour. Been getting really into fermenting things, and the sour component is something that you find in a lot of Thai cuisine, and it's something that's really unique to the flavor components of Thai cuisine. So now we got our pad Thai sauce whisked. This is gonna go on the end, but we're saving this to go with the noodles and everything at the very, very end. And then we're gonna get our rice noodles starting to cook. And rice noodles are also one of those things. They are not all created equal by any means, and they can be very different. For example, the rice noodles that I got today, didn't have any cooking instructions whatsoever, which can be kind of typical. And so you got to be willing to experiment a little bit. And if there aren't instructions, you can start by doing what you know is safest and what you know is going to work. So in this case, these are some pretty thick noodles that we have here. They're flat, wide rice noodles. And since they are somewhat thick, they want a little bit of soaking. And so we'll want to soak these for about 10 to 15 minutes before we drop them in and cook them. And so I'll pour out the cold water here. And we are going to start conservatively with the cooking time. We're going to set a timer for 5 minutes if you could help with that, Meg.
Totally.
Thank you so much. All right. And they'll most likely need just a couple more minutes, but we basically want to check the minimum of what we think they'll need to cook. So we're starting with 5 minutes, and if they need a couple more minutes, that's fine. And it's always kind of a good base to start, not overcook the noodles, and then we're going to want to run them under cold water immediately to prevent them from basically continuing to cook. And then we're also going to spread a little bit of oil to prevent them from sticking as well. And then we've got some garnishes here as well. And one of the things I mentioned about the spice, I added sriracha, which is something that's a little bit more commonly found at most grocery stores. But you could also add a Thai chili paste as well. That's something that you can find in the Asian sections of a lot of grocery stores as well. And you could experiment with what you have on hand. And the spice is not a requirement. For those who do not love spice, you could definitely get some of the same flavored components without the spice as well.
So when you order at a Thai restaurant, like what level spice are you getting?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, it depends what restaurant you're at. I feel like oftentimes they lower the spice level a little bit from what their spice metric would be. So I try and order like a 3 or a 4 out of 5. I'm not a 5-star guy. I'm not that brave. Yeah. How about you, Meg?
3, but I know like some specific restaurants that I have to like they really throw the spice in there, and then I'm like back down to a 1.
Back down to a 1. I hear it.
Back down to a 1.
Yeah. Sometimes it's nice to be put in your place and sweat a little bit.
True. Yeah, it's kind of psychedelic.
It can be, yeah. Could be like the Hot Ones wing edition of Thai food if you go the wrong route.
But it's so good.
So worth it.
But it's so sweet and spicy and sour and salty.
It's joy through suffering in some ways, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to start getting this ready to saute this lamb.
You just hold it down.
All right.
It's always something with the electric cooktop.
Figuring out the nuances. This is live TV, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being patient with me. And so we're going to wait for this to just heat up a second, and then we'll add some oil. Check these noodles, make sure they're doing all right.
Yeah, it's been 3 minutes.
Perfect. All right. I'm curious, are there any first timers on the call, or is it all folks who have been on before?
Ooh, that's a good question. First timers. Come through in the chat.
Sounds like a crowd who's been on before.
Yeah, a lot of our familiar faces are here, which is great.
Got it. Where are folks calling from? Where are folks on from?
Let's see. Ithaca, New York, Canada, Arkansas, Ohio, Silicon Valley,
Okay.
SoCal, San Diego.
It's a pretty diverse group
All
we got
over.
here.
Yeah, Texas. First timer from Vermont.
Okay, all corners represented. Welcome.
Yeah. Minnesota.
So I just put in about a tablespoon of oil. Use some neutral canola oil. So no olive for this. And it looks like this is boiling over. Just about ready to take off.
Seconds left.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to get this off. All right. And let's just give it one last check just before we pour out all the water. This is always that chance where you want to make sure that they're fully cooked before you pull them off. And they're looking nice and soft. You can see that they're not sticking together, but we want to try one to be sure. This is the moment of truth, right? And this is going to be quite hot. This is my Lady and the Tramp moment of romance with myself, you know? And it looks like, yeah, they are cooked, and so they're just a little bit al dente, basically, and they will finish cooking in the last little bit as we're sauteing with the sauce. All right. And then again, we'll get some cold water into the noodles just to kind of prevent them from continuing to cook. And then we'll continue with the lamb.
Would you ever save some of the rice noodle cooking water?
Kind of like you would for a pasta.
Yeah, someone's asking.
Yeah, you know, you could, although we're making quite a bit of sauce, and so it would potentially help in terms of not having all of the noodles stick to the bottom of the pan and having that be an issue. You could kind of use that same method that you would with pasta.
And then we have someone else in the chat asking if they could just use a minced chili pepper to bring up the spice level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that if you incorporate a paste, it's going to be a little bit more spread out through all the dish. But if you're okay just getting like a spicy bite, you could absolutely do that. That's a great idea. All right. Now we've got our noodles. We've got a little bit of water in there, cold water. And I'm going to throw just a tiny bit of oil as well and mix this. This is just so that they don't continue to kind of stick in there. Should be fine with the water, but we're just going to kind of play it safe here as well. Mix these in.
Yeah, I feel like this is the trickiest part of this recipe, just keeping the noodles from sticking together.
Yeah, noodles can be a little tricky and finicky sometimes. They want to dance together and all just stick. So we're going to hope that doesn't happen and that we took the right precautions with the oil and the water. It should be all right here. And now this is our oil that's heated up to start sauteing the lamb. All right. Our lamb is looking nice and coated with this marinade. And so we are going to dump this into this hot saute pan. We're really just trying to give it color and get it cooked through. Again, this is fairly thin cut, so it's not going to need a long time. We're really just going to be cooking it for no longer than 5 minutes. Get it nice and colored on each side. Right. All right. So we're gonna give this meat some color. It's gonna really kind of bring in these flavors with the rest of the marinade, bring this to life as well as it kind of seeps into the rest of the lamb. And you're seeing here that there is a little bit of fat here, which is a good thing. That's what's gonna give flavor as this fat starts to render. And that good fat is gonna kind of seep into the rest of the dish as well. And as we incorporate it with the sauce, you're gonna get some of the oils from that good fat as well. This doesn't need like a constant stir, just kind of enough so that it's not unevenly cooking. Got a few more minutes of cooking here. And there's quite a bit of garlic. You'll see that the garlic is not very finely minced, and there's a reason for that. If we finely mince our garlic and we throw it in at the same time as this beef and we cook it at a high heat, we could potentially have burnt garlic. I don't know if anyone has had that situation where you're getting ready to cook an amazing meal and you threw in the garlic first thing and suddenly you got to start from scratch. And so we don't want that to happen with this. It's definitely a common thing, especially as you're just starting out with cooking, of learning when the timing of adding minced garlic. Cutting a little bit rougher can be a good thing. Make things a little bit easier for yourself. And so you'll see most of that marinade is starting to kind of cook away. Some of it's going into the meat. Some of it's just evaporating. And so that's why we're going to want to make sure to reincorporate some of the sauce that we made from earlier with the pad thai sauce here that has all that good stuff. The fish sauce, the lemon, this is the tamarind as well, and the sriracha, the chili paste. And it looks like we're getting there. Probably about just another minute or two of cooking. We're gonna turn it up just a bit here. Finish it off with a nice sear. And you can really, I wish you were here to smell this, because this is, for those of you who are cooking at home, by now, this lamb is really, the smell is permeating everything around us. It is smelling nice. We're getting some of the rendering of that fat mixed with the fish sauce and the sweetness of the sugar are creating some really fun smells here. These are looking just about ready here. Perfect. All right, and so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this from the heat and we're gonna save this for later. And as I troubleshoot this stove here, there we go. So we're kind of carefully getting this into a little bowl, and make it easier on yourself. Get yourself a little bit of a bigger bowl. Don't be like me. Don't make things hard on yourself. All right. And I was looking if I may want to rinse this out, but it looks like there's just some good garlic and sauce type stuff that we're gonna leave in there actually to use for flavoring of the eggs when we toss those in there, and that's going to be kind of our next step, is beginning to scramble the eggs. And so sometimes you may want to clean out the pots, but other times you may want to leave them in there for the flavor depending on what you're doing. In this case, we're going to leave that there. Grabbing the eggs to scramble. And live TV here, it's okay, things spill a little bit. We're going to get that pan going again for the scrambled eggs. So that will go in first, and we'll add all the ingredients afterwards. Let's see here. Sorry about that, guys. Here we go. All right. Just cranking up now.
I should have showed you how to use the stove.
No, that's all right. No, we're working through it. I tested it before, and I said, oh, okay, of course I know how to work the thing, but sometimes the tech gets smarter than the people. I feel like we're kind of at that point in society, so we're working through that. But yeah, this is nice, and we hear it starting to sizzle. We're going to add a little bit of oil. We're going to let that heat up for a second, and then we will add the scrambled eggs. The eggs are pre-beaten here, but this is just 2 eggs. I did not season this or anything. I did not add any water or anything. This is just as is. All the seasoning is going to come from the rest of this dish with the sauce, so you don't need to worry about seasoning the eggs with this one. Looks like that oil is heated up. I'm going to spread it around a little bit. And then with scrambled eggs, it's always good to bring it up to a high heat. And then if you have a lot of challenges with eggs sticking to the pan, maybe cooking it at too high of a temperature. And so one of the things that helps, in addition to what kind of pan you use, which obviously can help using a nonstick, the temperature you cook them at also makes a difference. And so if you start at a very high temperature and then kind of bring it down as you're dropping the eggs in. So if we start at more of like a high heat, say maybe 8 out of 10, and then we're bringing that lower down to say about a 3 as we're dropping the eggs in, that can kind of help having that problem of the egg sticking and overcooking. And so scramble. And then some of that garlic there is going to give it a little bit of flavor. Not a required part of the recipe, but just kind of my added laziness with not cleaning and also seasoning a little bit extra.
Oh, that's building flavor.
Exactly, yeah. We're not going to let that go to waste. That'd be a crime to throw garlic in the trash, right? And so these eggs are just about there. They have a little bit of that almost mucousy texture, not a fun word, but definitely when you're going with eggs, that's what you're looking for. We don't want to give them any color or anything, just want to cook them. And that's kind of where they are right now. We can remove this from the heat for a second while we get our other ingredients ready. And this is where we'll add in our noodles and the pad thai sauce as well. These noodles are looking like they are not sticking together, which is good. So I'm just going to pour out a little bit more of that water that I had reserved, since we don't need all of that. All right. Get this back on the heat. And so now I'm going to add just a little bit more oil, basically so that the noodles don't stick. We'll add just about less than a teaspoon of oil additionally. I'm trying to leave these eggs off the heat as much as possible. So right now, these are all on the edge of the pan, and these are just kind of hanging out here. Then we're going to dump these noodles in now. Got this oil hot here. And then we are going to add this pad thai sauce as well. Just going to pour it all in evenly, as much as possible. And then we're going to use a spatula to get all that goodness out as well. No sauce goes to waste, right?
No.
Whenever possible, we want to get that in the dishes. Not let an ounce go to waste. And so now what I'm doing is I'm breaking apart the eggs. And you're already going to see that this is a little bit of a different texture in terms of the sauce, consistency of the sauce, than you might see at your average American restaurant, Thai restaurant. Does anybody know what the real difference is between authentic Thai, pad Thai that you'd get in Thailand versus what you would get here in the US? Does anybody know what the one ingredient would be?
That's a good question.
It looks like, so yeah, it's a peanut addition, right? Peanuts are authentic, but the one addition in US pad Thai that you often find is peanut butter. And so you get this kind of really thick paste type pad Thai that's very peanut forward, and that's most of what you taste, and you're not really getting as much of that tamarind. There may or may not be tamarind if you're going to eat it out at home. So this is like the true, real deal pad Thai with the tamarind, and just having the peanuts as an accent rather than the whole kind of flavor profile of the dish built around it. And so, yeah, we don't want to overcook the noodles. They were al dente. But at this point, this is kind of where we're going to add the lamb in. We see some fair amount of sauce still in there. This is great. And we don't want to kind of keep cooking that lamb too much. This is really about the flavor components melding together. So that looks like it's there. We don't want to overcook the lamb and the noodles, so we're going to turn this off at this point. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a couple of our garnishes ready. And so we have some peanuts here, which are lightly toasted already. These are also lightly spiced. They've got a little bit of chili seasoning as well. You don't have to necessarily do that. I wouldn't. You can season them accordingly as you want, but it's always easy to just start with the most basic peanuts that you can get at the store. And in terms of crushing them, kind of want to show you guys a quick little trick, just a hack here to make it easier.
A good way to release tension at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. You got some aggression from the day, let it out here. And so I'm using this pan here rather than using like a Roku or a food processor, because we actually don't want these to be perfectly fine. It's kind of nice having a little bit of variation. If we have some that are fine and some that are maybe a little bit closer to whole peanuts, that's kind of nice, a little bit of variation in texture. And so we're just going to kind of take this pan here, and this is, again, once they're already toasted, you'll do this. And so they're either pre-toasted or you're toasting them yourself. And I would recommend toasting them a little bit at your house to bring them back to life as well. That's another option. And I'm basically just kind of lightly pressing down. I'm not trying to fully break them into small pieces. but I am kind of trying to get them most of the way broken. And if you have a peanut allergy, I was trying to think if you could do this dish with other nuts. Peanuts definitely are a big part of the flavor component, but if you had to substitute them and were to use something like cashews, it would work. I think it would work. I'd be curious to hear from you folks if it does. But I'm confident it would.
If you're allergic to all nuts, you could do like toasted rice powder, which I love for a little crunch.
That's a very good idea, yeah. Get creative with the alternatives. And see, here we have most of the nuts are broken at this point, not all. At this point, we can get an overhead here. So we have still quite a bit of texture there. All right, and then for the ingredients here for the garnishes, I want to talk a little bit about what we have here. These are bean sprouts, which can be a little challenging to find. In fact, I did not find them at my local grocery store, even though we're in an area that has a lot of Asian stores. These were a little tricky to find. So you may have to go to an Asian specialty store to get these. And I'll be honest, they are not my favorite ingredient to include in pad thai. I'd be all right without them, but they're definitely like a traditional ingredient and a component of this dish. And if you can, it's gonna add a little bit of texture as well and kind of bring that like bright crispiness that you get from the water content of these as you're biting into them. And then here we have just a little bit of shredded carrot, about a quarter cup would do it. So it's about 1 large carrot. Here we have scallion. Scallion is traditional. You could substitute this with something else. Say maybe you have something from your garden, you have something like garlic scapes or chives. Chinese chives is one that I've seen used as well. But this is going to be the most classic use, is the scallions as well. And then here we have some cilantro, minced. And to keep it fresh, I'm not sure if every home cook knows this, it can really help to keep a wet paper towel underneath the herbs and over the herbs as well. Here we have it underneath to kind of brighten things up. If you're saving it for an hour or two, say you're having some guests over, but you want to chop garnishes ahead of time, that wet paper towel is really going to help. And then here, citrus is always going to help kind of with what we were talking about with the sour component of Thai cuisine. And so if you can slice 1 lemon, that's always something nice to serve alongside with the Thai dish as well. And for lit folks, put it on accordingly as they want. And so I was curious if there's questions in the chat so far. How are folks doing out there?
Yeah, I'd love to hear from our friends who are cooking along. We have some questions about substitutions,
Yeah.
like specifically the tamarind paste. Like, how could you achieve that same kind of tartness and sweetness without using tamarind paste? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, that's a good question. So not all of the acidity and the tartness from this dish comes from the tamarind. Some of it's coming from other places. So you could turn up the acidity and the sourness that's coming from the other parts of the dish, like for example, the rice vinegar that goes into the pad thai sauce, as well as more lime juice. But in terms of the flavor of tamarind, that's one of those things it's very specific. It would be hard to come up with a specific fruit replacement for that with how specific the flavor is. But definitely for some of that sour, acidic components, there are other things that you can do. Good
What
question.
about what do you think about using guava paste here? We have a question about that.
Guava paste would be definitely an interesting test, not one that I have tested to use in place of tamarind, but they are close enough in terms of being pretty high acid that I think you could get some of those same flavor components. That's a great idea. Happy testing. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
That's a great one. And so, yeah, we're kind of at a point where this looks like it's ready to eat. I don't know how much longer we can go before we serve it up here. But yeah, I want to also talk about just a little bit about the garnishes. Somebody mentioned a couple of things that you could use in addition to the lamb here. Somebody was talking about a fresh pepper. That would do really, really great things. Thai peppers, if you're going to use it, I see someone shaking their head. Not everyone loves the spice. That's fine. But Thai peppers are extremely, extremely, extremely spicy. You could use a less spicy variety. You could do sliced jalapenos as well. I would be curious what it would be like maybe with some mixed greens. For example, I'm growing kale at my house. So I thought about, it's kind of weird. I know, kale and pad thai, certainly not classic. A lot of people who would probably shun me for wanting to put kale in a pad thai, but I'm growing it. Curious to see what that would do to pad thai. So you can get creative with what you have in your garden, what you have on hand. All right. And so, yeah, here we have this pad thai. Let's serve it up. I made less of a mess than it could have.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
so bad here.
That looks really good.
All right. And then this is that point where you got to just smell it and soak it all up. But this is also a point where you could garnish individually. And so you could have folks garnish as they want, or you could garnish for everybody accordingly. And since we're here, everybody at Homemade likes to party, and with good ingredients especially. So we're going to go ahead and garnish the whole thing. We're going to start here with the scallions, followed by the shredded carrot, here we have the mung beans. And then followed by the cilantro. And there's not necessarily a right order to this. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, we're inventing it as we go along. It's all going to get mixed together at the end of the day. So the order is not the most important thing with these ingredients necessarily.
I would say peanuts last, though.
Peanuts last. That one might be non-negotiable.
Yeah.
We want the peanuts all over everything, and we're going to use quite a few of them. All right. Here we are. Well, I tell you, cooking this and that smell of that lamb has my appetite worked up. I might need to dig in and make sure I did an okay job. I encourage you to do the same. Is there anybody else who's kind of close there to eat, or people still kind of cooking away there?
Yeah, here I have a photo to share.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Lovely. That is a nice one. That is beautiful. I'm going to serve up a little bowl here for myself, and we'll see how it is.
We have another friend plated.
Oh, beautiful. That looks lovely. I really like what you did with the lime garnishes in the end, kind of fanned out as a garnish. That's nice.
That's how many limes I want with my pad thai.
Yeah, exactly.
6 slices of lime.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is smelling nice. Would you mind grabbing me a fork? Thank you so much.
That's what I'm here for.
Appreciate it. Takes a village. All right, let's see. Moment of truth. Got to get the perfect bite with a little bit of everything, right? That's the challenge. definitely getting those 4 flavor components, getting the sweet, getting the sour, getting all of that. The lamb is very nice and tender. I'm satisfied. So hopefully everyone is at home. Really appreciate everybody joining today. Hopefully everyone had fun. Thanks for working through the kinks of my first class with the technical difficulties and figuring it all out. But had a lot of fun with you today and really looking forward to being part of other classes in the future. My background is South American. And so I'm excited to share some of those flavor profiles with you as well with some of the dishes that I'm going to bring down the road.
Yeah, thank you for this. And I'm excited for your to learn more like from you.
Thanks.
Going forward.
Appreciate it, Meg. It's good to be here. And then I wanted to let everybody know that the next class we have up is going to be pork katsu curry. That's going to be on Thursday the 15th. Hope to see you there.
Chowing down.
Chowing down, yeah.
All right.
Hopefully folks are getting there and are close to chowing down. It looks like people are.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks again. Take care.